Today we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. Now, whenever you talk about intelligence, you have a little problem on your hands because how do you quantify intelligence? There's so many different types. So we talk about IQ or emotional or intelligence quotient. Have lots of different tests that give you a number. That number is meant to compare your processing power or perceptive ability against the general population and give you some sort of comparative single expression to say I'm smart or I am challenged or I'm smart enough to do this task. Uh, and it's used for, I'd say, for good and for perhaps some purposes that maybe falsely limit people. Emotional intelligence, that phrase, we mean something a little different by that because whereas intelligence quotient is a number that really does not change much over the course of your life, emotional intelligence does. You could think of it almost as a measure of one's maturity and ability to regulate yourself, perceive others, and respond in the most appropriate way that you can. Now, why this is interesting or should be interesting to everybody is that there's been plenty of studies done. Target TTI International does one or has concluded a study that links high emotional quotient to high performance in executive positions or management positions or really sales positions, all kinds of roles in the workplace. And the emotional quotient is a better predictor of success than actually intelligence quotient is. And if you think it through a little bit, that shouldn't be too surprising because it's how we deal with people that really determines the height of our success. Because it's not just what we do; it's how we come together in cooperative ventures to get things done. So we've got two facts there. Then you've got the fact that the emotional quotient is the thing that determines our success. Or as a better determinator of our success, and the fact that it's a variable, that we can actually increase it. So what does that mean? That means that a person who decides to systematically increase their emotional intelligence over a time period is going to have a great advantage over the rest of the population that fails to do such a development investment of time and energy. So how do you do that? It's a little difficult thing to do on your own. Most of the gains that we need, again, you're dealing with people, so you need the feedback of other people in order to know how you're progressing or where you should progress. So there have been tools developed for this. Now I'm going to reference a specific tool here. It's called emotional quotient. And I'll put it on the screen here, see if I can do that. And now this is the particular tool of emotional quotient, and it breaks down into two basic types. It's your intrapersonal intelligence, in other words, what's going on inside your own head. And then there's interpersonal intelligence, what's going on as it relates to you and the interaction with other people. So everything starts with intrapersonal intelligence. It starts with our own perceptions of ourselves and others. TTI has broken this down into basically three categories. Self-awareness, which is our ability to understand what's going on within ourselves and how that might be affecting other people. And that's a good place to start because we can't make any changes if we're not aware of the benefits of making that change. Then self-regulation. So once we know, hey, I should do something a little different here, the ability to actually do that, to channel our impulses or our moods, and to hold back emotions and allow rationality to enter in and control more of our behavior. And then finally, on the interpersonal intelligence side is motivation, which is how much do we connect our emotional internal landscape to the outside world of productivity, getting things done, goals, and being at the service of other people. So that's sort of the one front that we can work on ourselves. The other front is, of course, how we connect with other people. So we need to understand not only what's going on within ourselves, but within other people. So that's called empathy. And then social skills is the complex art and science of being able to navigate the differences and the where we both connect and where we depart in our own emotional makeup between that and somebody else's. So it's these 5 areas that we can systematically work within. So when there's actually an assessment. This is an explanation of the assessment. You can take the assessment and it will give you sort of a readout along these 5 parameters. And then based on what that score is, you can see where you might best work. So you get a little page that tells you, okay, here I am in self-awareness. I score a 6.2. So on any of these charts here, what you'll see is this is the person who's taking the test score, is this blue line. Then underneath that is the normal distribution of the population that's taken the assessment before. So the mean, the median is 7.4. 33% of the people will fall in this blue here. Another 33% will fall in this blue here. 16% of the population will be above it, and 16% will be below it. So this person, compared to everybody else, is there's maybe 80 or 90% that would be more self-aware as it relates to this particular measurement than this person. And you can see likewise on the self-regulation, motivation is particularly low. The scores itself is lower, but you can see it's lower related to the population too. So this person is not as mature in their self view. They're a little bit better off as it relates to the awareness of other people. You can see we're right close to the median here. So for empathy and social skills. So what does that mean? That means that that this person has sort of the habit and mindset of being other focused, which is good and fine. And I'm sure this person is a wonderful person to be around, probably a good team member. But if they want to advance in their career and be even better at whatever their chosen career path is, working in these first 3 areas of self-awareness, self-regulation, and motivation would pay huge dividends. So if they took this, or they did take this exam, so once you know that, then you can sort of see, well, where might I work? How might this lower score in self-awareness make itself evident in the workplace? And here's some examples. Maybe they can't prioritize tasks too well, or they don't recognize a good thing when they see it, or they might even be indecisive. And you get a wide variety of pieces of feedback there of where these things are evidenced. Then once you know that, you can say, okay, let me work on one thing. I'm a big fan of working on one thing at a time. So what can you do? So here's a list on this page of a few things that you can work on to systematically, over time, increase the ability to be self-aware. Some of these things you'll see is to use other people. So make a note about your discoveries. If you're doing sort of a habitual note of how I'm feeling and reacting, then you compare what you reported and what you perceived with somebody else's. That helps you sort of walk through. It's very helpful to have a coach or somebody that knows a thing or two about this process. that can give you specific things that are going to work for you, because you'll be able to make headway that much faster. So I'm a big fan of psychometric tools like this, because it's sort of like a flashlight. It helps us sort of shine the light in an area that the person might not otherwise either acknowledge or see, or they might acknowledge, or they might discount it and think, well, I'm pretty good there, I don't have to worry. Then once they see, okay, this would be beneficial to work on, you have a much better chance of buy-in. People, what do I do there? Stop that. Okay, let's go back. So once they have buy-in, they're far more likely to take the steps that are going to lead towards improvement in the particular area. So let me see. I see we have somebody in the room here. Can you hear me? All right, I'll keep going. Ideally, what I'd like to do is answer some questions and talk it through how this might affect a person, and specifically how they might use it in their situation, either for themselves or somebody they know, somebody on their team, something like that. But if you're part of an organization and you are a leader in that organization, the systematic building and development of emotional intelligence is one of the smartest investments in time and energy that you can make to making your team stronger, because as they grow in these areas, they grow in related areas. Teamwork becomes better. Their viewpoint looks better. They're more resilient. They're more resistant to negative influences. Things like that. So investing in your people, investing in yourself, investing in your people, really that's the hallmark of success in the 21st century. And I think it's very important that everybody not only give that, not just lip service and acknowledgement, but really live that. And you live that by making it a priority. And you make that a priority by actually folding this kind of work into your schedule, if not daily, at the very minimum weekly. And the best teams do that. So I'll conclude my diatribe there and stop my broadcast. I hope to pick up this discussion with others in the future. So thank you for watching.